So, Labour's Jonathan Ashworth has been taking the fight directly to Rishi Sunak this morning. So here's what he said.
I think now, after 14 years of the Conservatives, it really is time for change. But I think that opportunity for change is coming because I think there's going to be a May general election. Lots of gossip swirling around in this place about a May general election. And I think Rishi Sunak, and this is my demand for Rishi Sunak, I'm sure he's watching GB News this morning, my demand to Rishi Sunak is name the date.
I'm sure he's quaking in his boots, Jonathan. But with reports today that ceasefire talks between Hamas and Israel have stalled, Labour look set to continue tearing themselves apart, don't they, over this war in the Middle East. And yesterday, George Galloway announced he will support candidates to stand against Labour MPs right across the country, including Deputy Leader Angela Rayner. So, who would a May general election actually benefit more, Tories or Labour? Let me know your thoughts by emailing me, gbviews@gbnews.com. Tweet me at gbnews. While you're there, go and vote in our poll. I'll bring you the results very shortly. To debate this now, I am joined by the former Environment Secretary, Ranil Jayawardena, and former Labour speechwriter, James Matthewson. Ranil, is there going to be a May election, and who will it benefit more if there is?
Well, look, I mean, I clearly don't know. There's only one man who knows what he wants to do. But I tell you this, the Labour Party are going to come majorly unstuck. I mean, they've faced no scrutiny on their policies because they're not the government. All they've had to do is complain. And when people really find out that they're going to hive off money back to their heartlands in London, backing Sadiq Khan's approach to running London, when they learn that they're going to copy the Welsh Government's approach, 20-mile-per-hour speed limits everywhere, and when they hear that they're going to put up taxes, then I think people are really going to say, hang on, I'm not sure Labour's for me.
OK. I mean, James, I think arguably the bigger issue is that if Sunak has an election in May, there is every chance that this Israel-Hamas situation is still going to be going on and Labour are ripping themselves apart in that. Should Jonathan Ashworth be careful what he wishes for?
I'm sorry, am I living in the same world as the rest of you here? We've had 14 years of Tory party government. It's the same Tory party we've had that whole time. Think about the state the country is currently in. Things I know, Patrick, that you and I may disagree on, but I'm sure we'll agree that it's not where we would like the country to be. Who is in charge of the country? Who has been in charge of the country for the whole time?
But James, right now, you've got George Galloway causing you all kinds of problems.
George Galloway is one MP.
The more potent he is.
George Galloway is one MP, and the second that we have a general election, he will no longer be an MP because the Labour Party will win that seat back. George Galloway is a distraction for everybody. George Galloway cares about himself. He's an egotistical maniac. Everybody knows that. But the Tories are using him as a distraction. And the fact that we would talk about George Galloway instead of 14 years of Tory party failure. Jonathan Ashworth knows that if he calls the bluff on this, they can't go to an election right now. They're hoping that more time will give them some way to wriggle out of the failings that they're currently facing.
Didn't quite hear everything you said there, but it didn't sound too nice about George Galloway, so I'll just, for the sake of safety, we'll say he's not here to defend himself. Ranil, if Sunak had any balls, he'd call a general election in May, he'd get it done, he'd crack open the cavernous wounds in the Labour Party over the Gaza situation, no?
Well, I think you're absolutely right to call out Labour's huge divides on this issue. And it's not just George Galloway, but you've got people like Diane Abbott who are backing Galloway, it seems, from what I've heard. So you're right, there are huge divides in the Labour movement, as they like to say. And, you know, the socialists will be exposed for what they are. The divides on this issue and others will be exposed in an election campaign. And here's the thing, you know, in an election campaign, I think it's on the Conservative Party to be able to take a positive case to the country. And I don't think we've got anything to be afraid about in that regard. I think we've got a really positive case to take to the country, particularly if the budget tomorrow cuts taxes further. And it's rumoured that there's going to be a further cut to national insurance, helping hard-working families across this country. I think there's a really positive story to take to the country. And the opposite is true. If we don't stick with that plan to cut taxes, we'll be back to square one with higher taxes under Labour if people choose that. So I think there's a real choice there, and I think Labour are going to come unstuck.
What is Labour's message, James, apart from we're not the Tories?
Well, exactly. We need to see that, and that's exactly what we're seeing in a general election campaign. I would hope to be seen from the Labour Party right now, to be honest, by this point, if we're talking about potentially going to a May general election, more policy pledges, more direction. You're right, we do need to see more of that. Even people like Alistair Campbell are calling for that from PS Thomas. So hopefully that's a message that we'll listen to. But at the same time, are we talking about it's desperate stuff from the Tories to be hearing that we're talking about Diane Abbott? We still talk about Diane Abbott. She's so far removed from the front bench of the Labour Party currently that it's fantastic that we're still talking about her and George Galloway as the only ways to attack the Labour Party. Talk about Keir Starmer. Talk about Rachel Reeves.
Yeah, all right. I mean, I think it's more the case that they are going to be standing quite strong independent candidates against some Labour big hitters in areas where there is a large, sizable proportion of the Muslim vote, and a lot of those people are massively in favour of a ceasefire, which Labour did not provide, which is exactly what I'm literally just saying, exactly what George Galloway has been saying, and also one thing that we've been talking about massively on this show for a period of months. I'm in agreement. I'm massively in favour of a ceasefire myself. I'm proudly pro-Palestinian. I understand that, but the damage has been done for Starmer. This is my point, James, that if a general election is called in May, there is no way that Keir Starmer has got time to repair the damage that he's done to that Muslim community, is there? So you know, you are in trouble.
They may well lose some votes somewhere, but I do not, looking at that general election, I do not think there was anything to worry about. If they had stood a proper candidate and not cocked up what they cocked up, and actually ran a proper campaign with a candidate all the way through, I don't think George Galloway would have won at all.
OK, well, interesting. Obviously, we'll never know, but there we go. Ranil, look, in your heart of hearts, you know, the Prime Minister's probably watching this right now. I bet he is. Yeah. When do you want an election, Ranil?
Well, I'm always happy to go to my constituents and speak to them and see what they're thinking and hopefully count on their support. I'd be perfectly happy with an election in May if that's what the Prime Minister decides to do. I think, as I say, we've got a really positive case to take to the country. I think we can do it on our own terms if we go in May, rather than letting it being timed out towards the end of this Parliament. And, you know, I think it'll also call Labour's bluff here, because really they don't want the election in May. They're saying that they want one in order to try and put us off. I think you know, we could very easily call their bluff.
Ranil, is it not quite devastating that so many of your own MPs are jumping ship before an election? No, I find that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very sad to see people go like Paul Scully, who I think is a great guy, a really good MP for Sutton and Cheam. I'm sure we'll select some really good candidates in place of people like Paul, though, and there are some great people coming through. You know, I don't think the Conservative Party is short of new talent. That's really positive.
Look, Ranil, just final one to you on this. I mean, I suppose if they were that confident of general election victory, they wouldn't be going anywhere, would they?
Some people have, like Paul said, he's served in local government, he's served in Parliament for a long, long time. Right. He wants to do something new. I think that's perfectly fair. People want to change careers. People have multiple careers now, and he said he didn't want to retire in politics. So good luck to him.
Or be retired in politics would be another way of putting it. All right, look, both of you, thank you very, very much. We will find out. We've not got long to wait if it is May now. Anyway, all right, that was former Environment Secretary Ranil Jayawardena and former Labour speechwriter James Matthewson. Look, who do you agree with? So the Gaza ceasefire talks have broken down, all right? So that's happened. So you can protest all you want on a Saturday. The fact is, Hamas actually don't want a ceasefire, all right? So who would a May general election benefit more, the Tories or Labour? Rupert says, I honestly don't understand this nonsense. The Tories are finished, they are irrelevant to the UK now, and nothing can change that. I'm probably the biggest Conservative I know, and I want them destroyed. Grief, Rupert, I hope you're all right, mate. All right, anyway, Leah says, the Gaza conflict is more damaging to Labour, but the longer the Tory MP supports Sunak, the greater their damage is too. All right, Peter says, neither. The public have more important things to worry about. Well, they're a general election, Peter. Anyway, your verdict is now in. Right, so 39% of you say a May election will benefit the Tories more. 61% of you think it will benefit Labour. That's really interesting. So the majority of you think that what's going on in Gaza and Israel, I would assume, that's what I would take from that, you don't think is going to have a catastrophic impact, even if that election is in May, whilst it's all still ongoing. Interesting. Thank you very much for taking part.